Hey, brother, how are you?
Martin. Martin.
Yes, sir. Sorry I owe you a call
Hey.
back. It's been very crazy. How are you?
Good man. I think you know who I am,
Of
but it's
course,
okay if
yes.
you don't.
No,
Yeah,
no, I
yeah,
do.
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I owe you a call back. I still have a
No,
post-it.
no, not at all. No,
I
not
have
at
a
all. You don't owe
post-it
me
note
anything.
with your
No,
phone
you don't owe
number.
me. No, you don't owe me anything. But I just curious because I know you did some I think nakeds for Sava when you scored some options and stuff. So
Yep.
um, quite, just a respectful question. How come you didn't do it for some of the quantums, like just to hedge out?
I did.
Um,
I did, which is why I still
like
have
buy
some.
some on the money calls or some shit like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I
No,
just,
I did a little bit of that.
yeah,
But these have been very stubborn shorts, to say the
yeah,
least. But yeah, how's everything else?
yeah, good. I mean, it's kind of like what like a huge fan. I'm at the office right now. I have you, on one monitor watching it. It's not only very insightful, as I mentioned to you, super insightful and but very entertaining.
Thanks, man.
Love your Trump impersonations. Love every Warren Buffett's another one that's one of the best.
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah, anything I
and I hope
can.
I won't piss off your fans or your callers, but sometimes I wonder why you even stream and deal with, I'm going
Yeah.
to be respectful. I'm not going to
No, no,
say
no,
what
bro.
I
It's fine. It's
have on my
fine.
mind, but
I consider you a friend. I mean, obviously, we're trying to grow Godel. That's my
yeah,
primary responsibility. I think I'm interested in and excited in making this kind of connection. I do think like if you look at the path of Bloomberg, I think that you kind of and Thomson Reuters, you kind of have to have your own media company as well as the information company because news is information in a lot of ways. So like we are going to hire like reporters and at some point we'll expand the stream into much more of like a show or a channel or like something really well done with guests and a set and all that stuff and really try to beat Bloomberg at every single thing they do, whether it's financial information, media, content, whatever. It's a new generation out there. Guys like you, guys like me that are younger but still professionals. We're sort of tired of like CNBC hasn't changed in 40 years, and Bloomberg
yeah,
hasn't changed in 40 years. And, I do think it'll be a new era is coming.
yeah, understood. But I agree with you at a point of grabbing that chick, Katy Perry.
She's great.
I
Yeah.
think you poach. I think we should poach her, and
Yeah, no,
just
I think she's open for it. She's very
she
smart.
should fire that clown. That
Yeah,
one
yeah,
dude
yeah.
that you made
She
cry.
she she knows finance. She's
Hurt his feelings pretty bad.
I
I
think
think.
so, yeah. Well, I mean, I think you have to do the homework. I mean, when these stocks drop 90%, which is like guaranteed, it's just a question of when, people will remember that and say, well, next time this happens, maybe I won't get so excited about a buzzword that I don't understand. And, the reality is that, I should look before I leap. But, it's human nature. I mean, that's what people do. And you can't change human nature. And it's not easy, as you can see. I mean, whether it's the long side, short side, both sides, it's never easy. And, you know,
Well, it's never easy. I mean, people who think it's easy, they're you know effing delusional.
no, guys like you that
You and I
were,
know that.
yeah,
Because you worked with the best, obviously, and it's never easy. There's always a trade somewhere, but it's never easy. I mean, even someone that we marvel, um, Kramer or
yeah.
you know just the legends. They're always very humble.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
not about yeah.
I mean, the hedge
So
funds that I've looked at over the years, every one of them had a period where they got hurt, got stung, and you have to come back from it. But I think that you're right. Humility is important, and you work at one of the top places. Of course, I will never say who or what,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's it's being a professional and grinding is it's a privilege. I mean, I think the people from the sidelines don't get it that Wall Street's a really big place, lots of people all across the country, and we all want to win, but we have to work hard and satisfy our clients, whether it's buy side, sell side, hedge funds, doesn't matter. Even Elliott or Bluecrest or some of these other big firms, they all have clients, and whether you got a small client or a huge client, your job's to make the client happy. And one of the biggest ways to do it is if you make a mistake, you got to own it, and your client will trust you. For me, I've made some mistakes on the quantum stocks. I don't think they were analysis mistakes, but maybe timing and sizing mistakes. And I own those. I have to live with that, and I put my performance up every day just as a truth in advertising. Like, yeah, this has been a really painful trade, but most other people will, they'll delete a tweet, they'll sweep it under the rug. Like, look, it is what it is. And I've been in this position before and I made 20, 30, 40, 50x afterwards. But
Yeah.
drawdowns are going to happen if you're going to swing for the fences like I do. And, you know, I am looking forward to being up, very soon, but it's painful, but at least you got to keep it real with your clients. If I stopped streaming or if I put a manipulated number on my screen, I'm sure other people do that, or they don't even talk
Yeah,
about it at all.
dude, you know that. It's more so than me because, I'm filtered in what I could see and stuff. But, it's crazy times. People post their winnings. It's like, well, that's great. I'm not all about taking victory laps, never
Yeah,
have, and
yeah,
maybe, first 2 years, my idiotic, pretentious little rookie years, but, I grew out of that really fast, just got spanked and just say, hey, you don't do that type of shit.
exactly.
You're going to look like a clown.
Once you take the
So, like,
victory
when they
lap,
post winnings, it's just cringe. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, who cares? Number one, who cares? Because we always know there's another side of the trade. And we've been there before, but your quantum trade, the trade's not done yet. So,
yeah,
we're going to ride on, and
yeah,
it's going to be fun. And 2.0 with Shay, so that's going to be
yeah. And
epic.
listen, I had dinner last night with one somebody I consider a top venture capitalist, and then somebody from one of the biggest hedge funds in the world, and he was telling me about an interesting quantum company on the East Coast that's not public that maybe making a pretty serious advance. So it's an interesting space. No matter what happens, the future of computing, whether it's Nvidia or AMD or potentially a quantum company, or even my friend Guillaume, his thermodynamic company. This is going to be a cool space for decades to come. And if you're a fan of technology, you're going to watch it, and we'll be able to say to our grandkids, "I remember when Nvidia became the top, and Intel was, when I was a kid, Intel was the top." And they're going to say, "Dad, what's Intel?"
Yeah.
They're going to be playing on their quantum iPhones or something.
Well, it's like what was about a week or 2 weeks ago, you asked chat, like, name some famous or infamous .com,
Right.
names that, you guys traded, remembered, it's just littered of them, but,
Yeah, yeah. It's. I mean, in fact, a lot of people. The guy I had dinner with was, he wasn't young because he's pretty much at the top of Wall Street, but he was. I could tell he was a couple of years younger than me, and like I would reference some stocks from like 25 years ago, and I could see him like being like, "Who?" What?
yeah, yeah,
And that's
yeah.
normal because you are how old you are, and old timers used to do that to me. They used to tell me about some stocks from the 80s or 70s. Um, there was a big conglomerate craze in the 80s. One of them was this. Oh man, I can't remember. I'm blanking on the name. It was this gigantic conglomerate. It was called like ITX or something like that. There was a bunch of these, and most of them sort of or Teledyne or Teleflex. I forget exactly, but some of these stocks from the 70s and 80s that were like really big, like these stocks are to us now. Of course we don't know those stocks because it's so many years ago, but I do think history helps a lot, and I like to do that and check out like hear stories from the older guys who tell me about like epic short squeezes of the past and stuff like that. And of course, I've been trading since I was a little kid, but it's a lot of fun to talk to the older dudes, and I know you're probably around a few guys like that
Yeah,
who remember
no,
the
that's,
markets.
yeah, I value those so much, because their war stories and their wisdom, it's like invaluable.
Yeah, and you tend to.
I think, the new generation, if they're listening and, there's a lot of value to that. Like many of the videos that you play, they should really hone down on that, like the Jirok video.
Right.
See, the dude's all about humility, and he's the
Right.
first one to say, like, I make mistakes all the
He
time,
loves saying it, yeah. And look at Roaring Kitty or other people that they're the people that they idolize, and it's really not great role models. There are young guys, Kitty's age, on the street trading billions. They're just not known. They're
Yeah,
guys like they're not looking for YouTube views. They're not looking for that stuff, but they're out there. And by the
yeah,
time they get as old as Druck, they kind of open their publicity a little bit because they're comfortable. But right now there's plenty of guys that are my age, your age, that are just crushing it, and you never know who they are unless you're plugged into Wall Street, which is why Godel. I hope that it allows people to sort of get a glimpse of what that looks like, because once you start hearing some
yeah,
of those names, you might be able to oh, this guy's going to be at this party, or oh, this guy, do you know this guy? And then all of a sudden you connect dots, and before you know it, you're off to the races, which is how a lot of these big breaks happen. You just have to be nosy enough and knowledgeable enough to ask. Like I asked my friend the other day, he worked at Millennium. I think it's like the biggest hedge fund in the world or second biggest. And I said, "Who's the big shots at Millennium?" I made him a little bit uncomfortable, but he's my buddy for a long time. I said, "Who manages the most money there?" Because there's 1,000 people that work there, and there's like 200 pods or portfolios, but who's number one? And he gave me some names, and I learned a lot more. And I started to wonder, like, okay, now I have more information. If I bump into somebody or I hear that name again, I'm prepared to make a connection. And I'm somebody who a lot of people say, "Oh, you don't need to make connections. Everyone already knows you." But I'm still hustling for connections and networking. So, the more names you put in your mental Rolodex, the more you can like be aware and be ready for the golf course or the airport. You happen to be sitting next to somebody important and you don't even notice it. Those kinds of chance interactions, are super huge. I got my first hedge fund job because this dude I was friends with as a teenager, his neighbor was a top hedge fund manager. That was it. So you never know how you're going to get plugged in. But if you never ask and you never are aware of what's going on, you're not going to be able to capitalize on opportunities. But
yeah.
in any event, I'm babbling.
No, that's yeah, I resonate with that. I mean, my tiny little world, you know, um, I'm inferior to your background, but my little story was I worked at a surf shop, of all things, and these
Wow.
retail brokers would, you know, drive by around 2 o'clock, and the market closes in the West Coast at 1, as you know.
Yeah.
And I would see these guys, they're all tanned and ready to, they're just coming in the surf shop to buy wax and stuff. And I'm thinking like, well, these guys do get off work at 1:30, to
Right.
go surfing in the afternoon. What a great lifestyle. They're, popping out of their Beamers or their, convertible Porsche and stuff, the full lifestyle. So I was sucked into that, or that initially, I'm just going, what do you guys do? In old school word, obviously it's been bastardized as, oh, I'm a stockbroker.
Right. Right.
I'm thinking like, what is that? I was clueless. I just went to just regular, standard university studying marketing because it's the best. Because my girlfriend was a sorority chick at the time. She told me like the hottest girls,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly. That we're in marketing, classes. Forget finance. I went, okay, yeah, all right, yeah. And, yeah, my head wasn't screwed up
Yeah, I
properly
mean
at that
that's so
time,
funny.
obviously, but
I mean, I love your neck of the woods too. I mean, I go there a lot. So when I'm out there, I'm gonna I'll hit you up.
No, it'd be fun if I'm gonna probably go to New York within like 3 4 months. Maybe I'm glad. I think 2 3 weeks ago or last week you mentioned you had a beer. You don't drink much, but you did have a beer with a buddy. So it's good to hear that because when I'm in New York, it would be great to grab a beer.
Yeah, love to.
If you could, if I could grab a couple minutes of your time, it would be
Oh,
awesome.
anytime.
It'd be super privileged to meet you. So.
No, it's our privilege, and you can be my wifey too. She'll be here. So, all
Nice.
right.
All right.
See you
Hey,
later,
I'll let
brother.
you go. Thank you for
Great
taking my
talking to
call
you. See you later.
and great work as
Anytime,
always.
brother.
Honestly,
Thank you.
your stuff is just solid gold.
Thank you so much. You're too kind. All
All
right.
right.
See you.
All right. Take care.
That dude's really cool, and he's a top dog. He's on Wall Street. Serious dude. I'm gonna end the call now. End the show because we just did it for that dude who didn't even show, which is a shame because and that's what usually happens when somebody challenges me in chat. I'm excited because I'm gonna tear you apart like I tore up Shay. You're just like a little stuffed animal, and I'm just like a pit bull. Limb from limb. I can understand why you wouldn't want to join the call.